So I'm going to tell you the reason why I feel that most or everybody should take up boxing and some of the benefits to it. Even if it's not competing, learning how to box and also making it a part of your life, really. I always like to look at things in a way where I can take some lessons or basically some lessons or points from certain things I'm doing, including boxing. If you really think about going through boxing rounds, let's say 12 rounds of boxing, you've got 3 minutes that you're competing, you're fighting, you're boxing. The whole point is to hit and not get hit. So every time you're throwing punches and connecting, you're scoring points. Every time you're defending, you're preventing someone from hurting you and also from scoring points. But then you go back into your corner where you're going to have your team now. There's going to be a cuts man now. There's going to be someone giving you water, someone giving you advice like your coach. You might have 3 people in the corner and you've got a minute. And I always like to think of boxing is a little bit like business, and it's like life itself. You're going through the rounds through your business, through your family life, life itself, life in general. And over the 12 rounds, you're doing everything you can to get the very, very best out of the rounds. And then what you do, you go back to your corner and you adjust. You look at the things that you've done right. You look at the things that you can improve on. You've got your mentor, your coach, your team, your family around you, giving you a bit of guidance here and now. And then you go back out for another round and you're trying to win each round and trying to get the very, very best out of it and scoring the points and making sure that you don't get hurt during that time period. And you're pushing yourself basically. So metaphorically, boxing has more messages than just boxing itself. There's more to it than that. So I've written out 5 different things I believe boxing can give you, the benefits and the reason why I've taken it up. I used to fight for an amateur boxing club called Bromley in Downham, and the likes of Sam Webb, who I used to really look up to, admire. Came from there before he turned over to pro and started fighting for the iBox gym, and which the likes of Bradley Skeet, who is a outright winner to the British title. He boxes down there, gets trained by a very, very great boxing trainer, great man called Alan Smith. Johnny Garton's down there, also won the British title. There's Lewis Petit. There's a few guys down there. Ricky Bowden also used to box down there. And anyway, going back to my point, there was some very, very good boxers that came out of Bromley and Downham. I used to be an amateur fighter there. Then I went over to started fighting in, let's say, the unlicensed boxing. And then I had one fight for the Queensberry League, which some people dub or call a semi-pro league, even though it's not officially a semi-pro league, or there's no such real thing as semi-pro, but that's what some people have called it. And during this time, I've learned a lot of things from boxing. And I've got to say, when I was coming out of school, I had no confidence at all. I was told on a few occasions, unfortunately, that I wasn't going to really equate to much by teachers, by certain people that used to work at the school. And I never got very good grades and therefore qualifications. And I had in my own mind, I was, I wouldn't say destined to fail, but, I just lacked that confidence. And certainly when I found boxing at the age of 14 years of age, it really, really opened up my life and I started to become a lot more confident. So here's my 5 punchy points, excuse the pun, to the reason why I took up boxing and why you should take up boxing as well. And just on that final note, it doesn't matter whether you're white, black, Chinese, whether you're a female, whether you're a male, whether you're old, young, it doesn't matter. What matters is boxing can fit everybody. Boxing's a great equalizer. It doesn't matter your background, doesn't matter how rich you are, how poor you are, you know, your education, your qualifications, it doesn't matter. The great thing about boxing, as soon as you get in that ring, everything else falls away and it's just you and that other person. And that's what I love about it. Unlike football, rugby, or any of these team sports, again, not taking anything away from anyone like that, because they're all very, very competitive, very, very hard sports to master and to make a living or get paid from. But let's face it, you have other people supporting you, and if you're having a bit of an off day as a footballer, you may be picked up by other people because they're looking after the game for you, and you can have a bit of a duck time and still win that match. With boxing, you can't. It's you and that other person, and it goes the same with Thai boxing, kickboxing, MMA, anything which is a martial art or a combat sport. It's just you and that other person. Yeah, you can get assistance when the round is done and you're going back to your corner for that minute and speaking to your team, your coach or your mentor, and they can give you some pointers. But at the end of the day, only you can implement it. And I find sales is very, very similar to boxing. The thing that we say in sales is the board never lies. The boxing ring never lies. Whatever you've put in to your own craft, into your own self-development outside that boxing ring, or the telephone, or you know, the sales environment, it will show up at the end of the month in your paycheck, or it will show up when you get in that boxing ring. You can kid yourself and you can lie to everybody around you to a certain amount of time, but then eventually, when it's all said and done, you have to step through those ropes. You're going to see whether the people have been sweating in the gym and really putting hard graft in, or working on their skills outside of your work, you know, sales or the boxing ring, and it's going to show up on the night, basically. You know, it's only you. So number one, I believe if you can take a punch in the face, you'll most likely be able to take most things in life. Now, that's not a complete guarantee, but in my experience, if you can take a punch in the stomach, in the face, multiple times, even though this is not the goal, your goal is to dish out the punishment and not get punished yourself. But let's be fair, it's very, very difficult to make an omelette if you're not going to crack any eggs. So occasionally you're going to take a punch in the face, you're going to take a punch in the stomach. And as long as you can remain composed, you can stay calm, and you can stay to your game plan and stay methodical, you're much more likely to overcome the challenge in front of you. And if we're talking about boxing, which we are on this episode, you'll more than likely be able to overcome, weather the storm and win that round or even the fight. So basically, in boxing, you're taught never to show your pain. If you get hit, remain calm, never lose your temper, stay composed, and just keep hold of your emotions and keep on moving forward, basically. I know it's a bit of a cliche Rocky saying, but literally, it's like how hard you can definitely get hit, remain composed, but keep on moving forward, round after round after round. No matter how much blood goes in your eye, no matter how much sweat that you're losing out of your body, no matter how uncomfortable you feel, if you can remain composed and calm, then I feel you're much more likely to overcome that person and therefore win the fight. And what boxing taught me, the first point, is if you can keep your emotions intact in a boxing ring and take a punch here and there and take on some punishment, but still remain professional and still remain calm, then I think you're going to be winning. And it's very, very much the same on sales. When someone's rude to you because they're having a little bit of a bad day, it's not necessarily that they're bad people, some of the clients or customers or prospects you're speaking to, but they're going to respond or react to you in sometimes a very, very negative way. They might even say very, very insulting stuff. Now, it's very easy, if you get punched in the face, to lose control, start throwing everything you got out of there. And what happens at that point, you normally get exposed and get knocked out yourself. With sales, it's the same sort of thing. If you start losing your temper, you expose yourself, and therefore you're not going to get the sale, and you're probably going to get some complaints, and you might even lose your job because of it. So if you can, the saying is, if you can work, plan your work and work your plan. So what that means is, even in times of toughness and when things are going against you, if you can remain composed and very calm and keep your emotions completely in a calm state, then you can work that plan, keep on working it, and keep on moving forward, and win that fight. So the number one thing is, what boxing has done for me is you can learn to deal with pain, punishment, adversity in any walk of life, and you can remain composed and keep on moving forward and working your plan and developing yourself and overcoming those challenges. And that's what boxing taught me. Number one is to keep your emotions intact, learn how to take a punch here and there, and then keep them moving forward. Next one, number two, is one of the most important things for boxing for me. If you're a family person and you've got children, I've recently become a father myself, and I know that there is so much glory, so much excitement, so much energy that you get from a newborn baby. But let's have it right. It can be a lot of pressure. It can be a lot of responsibility, and sometimes that pressure can turn into a mild amount of stress, or sometimes high level of stress. So you need an outlet. And one good way of getting an outlet is, yes, going to the gym, but what's even better than that is boxing. Because when you're hitting the pads, when you're hitting a bag, when you're going into sparring and you're hitting somebody, and weirdly enough, even when you get hit a little bit, I kind of like it in a way, because it allows me to, lose some of that high pressure that I've got from family life, from business life, from investing, from all kinds of different things. Certain things get into your mind, and as soon as I do a bit of boxing training, but most importantly boxing, especially sparring, I feel on top of the world. I actually feel like I am a world champion myself. So if you find that your career, your job, your family life, or anything that gets on top of you every so often, and you feel a bit stressed or highly pressured, you have a little bit of anxiety sometimes, you might feel a bit fearful, I guarantee you that if it doesn't remove all of that, it will remove most of it. Get yourself into a boxing gym, get yourself moving about, start smashing the pads, start smashing the boxing bag, and trust me, you will feel that all, or if not most, of your pressure, your fearfulness, your stress, your anxiety will start falling at the wayside, and you can overcome these kind of demons that you might be feeling emotionally or in your mind. So definitely take up boxing, in my opinion. It's going to be a good medicine for you, and it's natural. It's completely natural, and you know what? It doesn't really cost too much. Number three is the competition. What boxing gave me is the will to compete. Because even when you, let's say, come second best and you don't win the fight, because you're now starting to develop that characteristic of being a competitor, that means when you transfer that into other things like business, sales, investments, or even doing other sports, you have that competitive edge. And trust me when I say this, competition breeds excellence. Competition breeds excellence. Very, very difficult to become excellent at anything in life unless you've got some sort of competition. Look at all the big developers out there, property developers. As you all know, I'm in the property space, HMO specifically, and I'm glad in my goldmine area that there are other very good, very professional HMO landlords or business people in the property sector. I'm definitely looking to take number one spot, 100%. I'm not getting into it just to take part. I'm looking to become number one. I'm looking to take over. And that's not me being arrogant. That's not me being cocky. It's just what the boxing done for me. I want to be number one in most things that I do. In actual fact, probably everything I do. I want to be the number one dad on the face of the planet, the number one salesperson. When I first got into sales, my goal was to be number one. It wasn't even considering the amount of money that you can make. It wasn't even considering most other things that people think about. I just wanted to be number one. And I've got to say that competitive drive to be the champion and to be world class at something has definitely come ever since I started boxing. I used to play squash at a fairly high level for southeast of England, Kent. I even represented the country once by going over to Holland and playing. And you know, I did have a certain amount of competitive side to me, you know, playing squash, but nothing's compares to when you start getting into boxing, start sparring and start competing and start boxing in front of many friends, family. You might start developing a fan base, and trust me, your competitive nature will go through the roof. And it's very, very healthy to be competitive. When you're complacent, we don't really care about competition. I'm not saying you're not a success, and I'm not saying you can't be a success. It's just my opinion. It's always better to have competition because it breeds success. And I've had this on many occasions where another great salesperson comes into a sales company I've worked for before back in the day, and at first I resented it. I was like, why the hell is this person coming in and, you know, trying to take number one spot? And what I realised after a few weeks or a few months, it actually made me step up my own game. And had that person not been there, I may have not stepped up my own game, and therefore I might not have met my full potential, and therefore I may have not given as much value to my clients, much value to my colleagues, value to my company, and therefore maybe not be getting as much money, and therefore I can't use the money for my friends, family, investments, my future, and things like, you know, charity and stuff. So the competition does more than just for competition's sake. You can transfer that mindset and that skill set and that characteristic in many other areas in your life. The next one is defending yourself. Now, I believe in life you have to expect the best but prepare for the worst. I always expect that I'm never going to get into a fight on the street or some sort of altercation or someone starting on me, but let's have it right. Let's be real. Every so often, if you live in a city like I do, London, there are going to be some really good people out there, and there are going to be some not so good people. And therefore, learning how to defend yourself gives you the element of feeling confident and empowerment. I always like to give the example, when you learn a new skill, especially something like boxing, it's almost like, and stick with me here, I don't mean literally, this is like a metaphor or an analogy, having a loaded gun. If you had a loaded gun, let's just say you lived in a part of the world where it's legal and you're allowed to have a gun on you, you had a license or something, just because you've got a loaded gun doesn't mean you're going to use it. It's just there for your protection. And you could walk into any scenario, and because you know it's on you, it's in your pocket, or you've got a strap or something like that, you're going to feel very, very confident. And boxing is kind of like the same sort of thing. Because you learn this skill, how to defend yourself, even though boxing is a sport, it's a combat sport, it's an art as well, and therefore you just feel a lot more confident about yourself. So when you are in places which are a little bit adverse or a little bit controversial, or you know, it can be deemed a little bit of a rough area, knowing that you can use your hands, you could use your feet. If you're in MMA, which I also recommend is another good thing to do, it just gives you that element of confidence. The last point, and this is the very, very clear, obvious one, your fitness. Trust me when I say this. You think you're fit, you go against a boxer who is an amateur boxer, a pro boxer, even that someone that is just at national level, and then if you ever get the benefit of stepping into the ring with someone that has been European level or world level, which I fortunately in my life have, there is a massive difference between someone that is fit to a championship world-class boxer. You know, the fitness is unbelievable. I've seen certain fit people run marathons, swim, climb up mountains. You stick them into a boxing ring and you see how fit they really are. And so many people that I classified as very, very fit people just fall by the wayside and they absolutely melt. So fitness, go through the roof. As you well know, fitness for me is one of the most important things in life. Very difficult to become the very, very best family man, father, mother you could possibly be if you're overweight and unhealthy. It's very, very difficult. Very difficult to give that energy over to your clients, customers, prospects, colleagues, company, brand, whoever it is, without being fit. And boxing is going to accelerate and get you to that fitness very, very quickly, a lot quicker than most other things, in my opinion, which are out there. I've even seen pro boxers. I've got, pro footballers. I've got a few pro footballers who are friends of mine, and even they say, you know, on their days off, they go and do a bit of boxing because it does accelerate and heighten their fitness. And it just improves their football as well, all round, because of their, you know, their feet work in boxing, and, you know, how to stay composed. And like I said, you know, there's going to be parts of it where you need to explode in boxing, a little bit like football. And there's going to be other parts where you're a little bit more calm, a little bit more methodical as you're moving around. So the fitness, I've got to tell you right now, is uncomparable. And on the note of fitness, with boxing, when you're doing boxing, it kind of takes your mind off that you're actually doing something like exercising. Now, I love exercise. I love wellness. I love anything to do with training and competing and, you know, fitness and things. But there are days when I don't really fancy it. But with boxing, it kind of takes my mind off of it. So when you go for a run, you know you're running, and sometimes you overthink it, and it might kind of get on top of you or get into your mindset, and you might get a little bit put off. But when you go into boxing with a group, or you're doing it with a one-on-one trainer, or you're doing sparring, you kind of take your mind off of the thing that you're doing at that present point in time. And over the course of days, weeks, months, and years, you'll find your fitness goes through the roof. You'll find that you become a lot more defined. Your body fat goes certainly down. You find that you've got a lot more energy. And I honestly feel if you can transfer that energy that you're going to get from your fitness because of boxing, your whole life becomes a lot more better. It becomes a lot more fruitful. You become a lot more fulfilled, and therefore you become a much more happier person, and people gravitate towards you. And trust me, boxers look phenomenal in suits. They look phenomenal in tracksuits. They look phenomenal in casual or smart stuff, because the way they just hold themselves, you know, you become a chiseled kind of looking person. Even if you're a heavyweight, you just become a lot more defined. So they're my 5 key points to the reason why everybody should be taking up boxing, and the reason why everybody should be looking to implement it into your life. For me, sparring is my most exciting and my favourite training session of the week. I sparred yesterday, 5 rounds against a Queensbury champion, a guy called Ben Davis, and I'll be sparring him and another guy tomorrow, early morning, and I just love it. I absolutely love it. And as soon as I come out of that sparring, that session, the day is just so good. And it doesn't matter what life throws at me. I've just taken punches. I've just dished out punches. And there's nothing you can throw at me at this present point in time that I cannot handle. Boxing also gives you this mindset of, no matter what happens to you, own that situation. And that's what true boxers are like. You know, you get put down on the floor, get the fuck back up, and stand there and literally say to them, is that all you got? And when life knows that you're not fucking around and you're here and you are a fighter, and it doesn't matter if you're bleeding, doesn't matter if you're hurt, you're going to stay there and you're going to go toe to toe with life, whatever it throws at you. You know what? At that point, life just gets out your way, and so do other people. They won't want to mess with you when they know that you're a professional, you're an upbeat, positive fighter, and you're doing the absolute best by moving forward and staying composed, staying methodical, keeping your emotions intact, and becoming a very, very best version of you. Remember, everyone, if people are getting value from this, please recommend me to your friends, family, colleagues, associates, whoever it may be. Follow me on my Instagram, sully.steven. I'd love to hear from you. Be happy, never content. Thank you.